Yeah, so Coffee Unfiltered. This is hopefully the first episode that now works without any sound problems.
We've been struggling.
Yeah, yeah. So have you been following the Iran business?
You know, it was funny. I was listening. Don't judge me. I was listening to NPR on the way over here, in the BBC, and this reporter was having an interview with this lady. I don't know who she was, but he had said that usually the plan was to take the top layer off the regime, work with the second layer because they were a little more soft than the first layer, and they had gone like many layers in Iran. And the guy goes, "Well, if that's the case, then it seems like the third layer or whatever is more hardcore than the first layer." And the lady asked him, says, "Well, then why did they agree to the terms of the ceasefire?" And he quickly went to something else. So that's, your basic reporter.
They just want to bash Trump. That's
Yeah.
all they want to do. There's nothing else. It doesn't. It's not about the issue. TDS takes over, and the conversation usually moves to how bad Trump is and what a stupid president he is.
Oh, yeah.
That's
And,
it.
there's plenty of things that I can disagree with him on
Yeah.
and things like that. So I don't know why it's got to be everything that
But
he does.
did you see what he posted on the Easter message he sent the IRGC on Sunday?
I did. I did. Yeah. That was classic Trump. And, I think he is like the P.T. Barnum president. I think he does a lot of this stuff just to get a reaction from people because he knows he's got the liberals like, I mean, he owns them.
Yeah.
I mean, he owns them, and it's a lot of it's just for show, just to see what I think. He does it for his own amusement.
I think two things. I think that he likes to get him riled up.
Yeah.
He likes to get him riled up. He knows how to get attention on him.
Oh yeah, 100%.
But I also think that it was a negotiation tactic. It
Oh
was a threat.
yeah.
Did you see the second message?
No.
This was Sunday's message, right? Tuesday will be power plant day and breach day. All wrapped up in one. In Iran. There will be nothing like it. Open the effing straight, you crazy bastards, as you'll be living in hell. Just watch.
Oh my gosh.
So he ends it with praise be to Allah, just to rub it in.
Oh, 100%. I was watching one thing that really blew my mind. Well, not it didn't surprise me, but did you see all the women that they put a bunch of women around power plants?
Yeah. They put a bunch of, they put a chain of human shields around specific sensitive targets.
Well, that kind of tells me everything I need to know. And I don't understand why people don't understand that. Now, should we have gone in? I don't know. I'm not a, I'm sure they're privy to more stuff than I am, and know what's going on. But I mean, that's pretty bad. That you would put civilians around a potential target. That's there's something mentally wrong with those people that are in leadership.
So Saddam Hussein also did this. During the Kuwait War. And I think when they stormed his city, what is it called?
Baghdad.
Baghdad.
Yeah.
And I think it was during the Kuwait one, or maybe it was another one. I don't remember. But there was a radio show, a morning show, that put out a poll, and they asked people whether the United States should go in anyway. The poll result, regardless of the human shields, right? Because they put women and children in his palace, they put women and children around targets, and the US wanted to bomb him. NATO, they was going to bomb. They were looking at bombing him. And they asked people in this poll, should they go in and just bomb him anyway? And here's the kicker. Most Americans who actually listened to that show said yes. Bomb him anyway. It was like in the 70%.
Right.
And I thought, I remember driving and listening to this result. And I thought, are we a civilized country? Or are we a primitive society? It looks like we're still pretty primitive, if that's
I
your
would agree.
decision,
Yeah.
to just kill innocents. And these TDS individuals, none of them came out and condemned when the Iranian government, the mullahs, when they killed 50,000 innocent Iranians who protested.
It wasn't convenient.
But they'd never do.
No.
And so it's always just, it's so hypocritical. And the Nigerian Christians that are being slaughtered,
Mm-hmm.
they don't say anything about that either.
No.
But listen, watch this. Here is the other message. He starts the message with a whole civilization will die tonight. And then he ends it with God bless the great people of Iran. Very confusing message.
Yeah. 100%.
But then we got this. Of course, CNN posted that Iran won the war. He blasted CNN for that. He posted the actual message that Iran put out. This is the response from Iran agreeing to the ceasefire. As long as the United States, commit to a ceasefire. So there's now a 2-week period of safe passage through the Strait of Hormuz. So he actually brought him to the table.
Yeah.
They agreed to negotiate this 10-point proposal as a basis for negotiations.
Well, that's something that's never been done. Now we'll see if they stick to it.
And this is signed by this Minister of Foreign Affairs of the Islamic Republic of Iran. I think it's great. Well, gas prices are through the roof.
Yeah.
And
yeah, they are.
Inflation hasn't stopped going up, and the markets have recovered a little bit.
Yeah.
They were way down.
Yeah. Yeah. We'll see how today goes. Have you heard anything about the markets today?
No, I haven't looked.
We will see. But it'll take, I don't know, it'll take probably, it took 3 weeks for gas prices to go up. It'll take 6 months for them to go down.
If they do, yeah.
Yeah.
If they do. No, I'm really hopeful that they can. But it's a big step getting these people to and they asked. Pakistan helped.
Yeah.
But they want to come to the table, and so this is a huge step.
Oh,
This is a huge step.
And if they can work something out, because they were kind of isolated where they were. It would behoove them to do that for their country because, well, I'm not sure how much they care about their people
Not at all.
I mean, it's probably not going to affect them either way. But yeah, it's obvious they don't care about their people,
Yeah.
and that's really really sad. Bad stuff.
So I want to lighten the mood a little bit.
All right.
Have you heard of André Rieu?
No.
I want to play just just a clip because YouTube will kill this video if I play too much of it. But
Okay. Well, let's make some people nervous.
Écoutez-moi, moi la chanteuse à demi. Parlez de moi, à vos amours, à vos amis. Parlez-leur de cette fille aux yeux noirs et de son rêve faux. Moi, ce que je veux, c'est écrire des histoires qui arrivent jusqu'à vous. C'est tout. Voilà, 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 voilà qui je suis. Mais voilà mes messies, mes années j'apporte. Oui, mais voilà tout le bruit et tout le silence.
I got to stop it there, otherwise YouTube will censor this video.
Okay.
But André Rieu,
Uh-huh.
and she's Emma Koch, that sang there. She's 15 years old, and she sings a song. Now she has a condition where she cannot swallow,
Okay.
so she eats with a tube that feeds directly into her stomach.
Really?
Yeah. And she sang this song, Voila, which is also a very emotional song. It's about a young girl who's dying.
Uh-huh.
And she sings, "Here I am. I just want to tell you my story, tell you about my dreams. Please don't go, listen to me," and so forth. She doesn't actually say what she's dreaming about or what her story is, but it's a very, it's an appeal to listen to her
Right.
and not to go and so forth. Beautiful song. But André Rieu, it's R-I-E-U, the last name. Look up some YouTube videos of this guy's orchestra and his shows that they put up.
Okay.
They've gone all over the world. I don't think they've been into America. I don't know.
Huh.
But yeah, it's much better if you need to take a break once in a while from all the politics and all the bad news that we get.
Oh, 100%.
And that's a good place to start.
Oh,
to
yeah,
listen.
100%, man.
It's a beautiful. They do beautiful show. I would love to be in attendance one day for that.
Yeah, I think a lot of people just need to unplug it. I heard this commercial about this thing today is about this guy, and he was talking about you need to unplug. You need to, and he's advertising some game that he has invented that, you sit down and you play this game and unplug and have conversations and all this good stuff. And then he says, to get this game, go to this website. And I'm like, yeah, you just ruined it.
Sales tactic.
Yeah, 100%. But I don't know. The older I get, the more jaded I am. I start picking things apart, looking for the real motive of what they're telling me. So,
Yeah, we cannot believe anything anymore that we're getting.
no.
So you have to filter it out through your experienced eyes.
Yeah. And, a lot of people just take stuff at face value. And it's just like, it's painfully obvious that, I don't know. It's like AI videos and stuff like that. You don't know what's real and what's not. And that is very, very scary. So,
speaking of AI, I have a question. Did you listen to Tom Berino? Liberino. Was it Liberino? Alberino. Something like that. I sent you a video. Let me see.
is that the guy you sent me last night?
Yeah.
Tim? I think his
Yeah.
name was Timothy.
Let me see.
The Explorer.
Yes.
Yeah, I think it was Timothy. Yeah, I watched quite a bit of it.
Tim Alberino. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's his name. So yes, a fascinating view. It agrees with my view that I published in my book
Yeah.
about fallen angels, giants, Nephilim, demons, and so forth. Right?
Yeah.
And his vision, what he expects, and this is where I disagree with him, is this idea that AI will become sentient, will achieve consciousness, which I disagree with. I don't believe AI can.
Right.
AI can think to a certain degree, but it's basically collecting things all over the place and aggregating it and spitting it out in a form that you want.
Yeah.
But it cannot reason the way a human being can reason.
Mm-mm.
It cannot. It cannot connect dots that are not somehow obvious to connect.
Yeah.
It cannot dream. It cannot get a hunch. It cannot imagine something. It cannot hallucinate something brand new, which humans can do.
Mm-hmm.
We call it discoveries, right, or inventions,
Right.
but you hallucinate something that didn't exist before, never existed. AI cannot do that. And AI cannot do critical thinking. It cannot reason in the abstract, which a human can do. So I don't see AI as at all replacing that function. That imaginative, creative aspect of individuals. What I do see is that AI is going to make, because they've released AI on the world now. They've released AI on citizens, right, to play with.
Yeah.
They've released AI for us to make videos and make images and ask questions and get information from and solve, write code, things like that. And we are getting more and more comfortable with it. Everybody's using AI, finding it fascinating. Everybody's excited about it. So it's a great tool. It's a fantastic tool. But I believe AI is going to make people lose that ability to think critically.
I would agree.
Because why would you have to think critically anymore? Everything is given to you.
Yeah.
To learn to think is like any athletic sport where you practice, where you must teach your muscles. You have to build muscle memory.
Yeah.
To get good at something and to build that muscle. Your brain is the same way.
Mm-hmm.
And it takes effort.
Mm-hmm.
It takes a great deal of effort to learn to teach your brain something. If you don't strain your mind, you're not learning. You can memorize things, but to actually think, that process is not a clear cut. You cannot teach someone to think by giving them a few problems. That's not what I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm.
You can, because AI can do math.
Yeah.
And I believe people will still be able to code. They'll still be able to do tasks, but they're not going to be able to think anymore.
It's funny you said that because I was listening to the radio this morning, and I think it was in the Supreme Court of Nebraska. Some guy had submitted a lawyer had submitted a legal brief and used AI, and AI was wrong, and the judges caught it, and they had recorded that conversation in the courtroom, and it got really weird really quick, and that lawyer was not doing well with those judges at all. And, what one person said that was so scary is what happens if AI writes the law? And what if those judges didn't catch it in that brief? I mean, you're affecting a lot of people.
So what if the judges are using AI?
Oh, 100%.
What if the judges just take another before we have AI judges at all? I mean, and that's probably where it's going is AI judges. We will be under AI surveillance. Our privacy is already we don't have any privacy. Just forget
No.
that idea already before AI. But with AI, surveillance takes a super jump to the next level. And it's not just surveillance; it's regulation, policing, judging, writing regulations and writing policy. So at first, people will be using AI to do those things, but they're going to lose the ability to think. So we're entering a very nasty place where people lose the ability to think. And the reason they lose the ability to think is because AI does all the thinking for us. You don't need to. You don't need to strain your brain anymore. We already saw that, I believe. The turn of the 20th century, the 1900s, around there, plus or minus 50 years, was a time when there were amazing breakthroughs by individuals.
Yes.
That we are still baffled by how they even came to those realizations.
Yeah.
I mean, technology took a jump. Everything we have today are thanks to people, and this is in medicine, this is in physics, everything. But those men didn't have cell phones, they didn't have calculators, they didn't have the internet. They used their minds. And, Einstein said his ideas came when he was sleeping. He didn't sleep a lot. I think he averaged 4 hours a day. But that's when, and it's the same with me. Ideas arrive during when you deep sleep. And then we got calculators, and they went one thing, and then we got, the transistor. We got computers. Then we got the internet, where more and more information get on the internet, exposed to you, and you got the answer. You can easily get to the answer. Now, then we got Wikipedia, we got social media. Now it's just junk information.
Yeah.
And if you search for something real, you can't find it. If you go to your Wikipedia, you're gonna get twisted. It's not a real encyclopedia.
Right.
In the universities, the libraries are empty. The students don't use the libraries anymore. Books are, have been replaced by these black mirrors. So if you don't have to strain your brain anymore to solve a problem, and if they're going to start using it in schools and in universities, AI, which they already are, I don't see a future for these kids in terms of critical thinking.
I don't either. It's funny. I grew up in a farming community, and I've been around, been to different places and things like that, and some of the smartest people I know are farmers, because if you're out in the middle of a field, way out, and something goes wrong, you got to figure it out. Ain't nobody coming to save you. And, this is before cell phones and stuff like that. You either fix the equipment, figure out what's going wrong, or you're going to be walking for a long time. And, that's part of that critical thinking. And what I do now if I have someone that applies that has worked on a farm, chances are they're going to get the job. And you just basically give them the basics and turn them loose, and they can think. You get, the computer guy or whatever, and they really struggle in that environment. I think cell phones, when they first came out, they started making us really dumb because it was so easy to just call somebody and get an answer instead of trying to figure it out yourself. I totally agree with what you're saying. I think we're doomed, and you can't put the toothpaste back in the tube.
You cannot, no. And, it's like a muscle. So it's like, take pole vaulting. What is the record? What is the record for pole vaulting now?
I have no
Olympic
idea.
record.
I have no idea.
Right? But suppose you have athletes pole vaulting and they never trained.
Oh, yeah.
That's what we're going to get in with cognitive thinking ability, critical thinking, is people who think they can think, and they're going to act as if they can think, but they cannot think. That movie Idiocracy, remember that comedy?
Mm-hmm.
That is now becoming a documentary.
Well, there's a lot of people committed to their stupidity. I have met many people that just, they think they're right, and they're not going to think any other way about it, and they're very committed to their stupidity.
Isn't Washington full of them?
Yeah.
Washington is like a breeding ground for that. It's a
It
nest.
is.
It's a nest of...
Have you been there lately?
No.
I went a few years ago, and it is like you're on a different planet. They are so, and it's the whole city, they're so disconnected to the average American. It's really scary. And you know what? Even more scary is they're the ones in charge. And I think, honestly, and you look at business, when business starts to fail, it's when the upper leadership gets disconnected from the people that are actually doing the work and the people that they serve. That's where you start having problems.
It's usually when they hire MBAs.
Yeah, I've seen that.
Now hire MBAs to start falling apart.
They want people in a lot of cases, a lot of companies, they want the image when they hire. It's kind of like having a really nice Corvette, and it just sparkles and shines. But when you pop the hood, there's nothing there.
Or a lawnmower engine.
Yeah. Give me a rat rod. Give me somebody who's a little rough around the edges that knows what they're doing. That's who I want.
Yeah.
I want somebody that's going to push back against me, challenge me in my thinking in a professional manner. I mean, you don't want to hire an asshole, but that's the kind of people that you want. Is the people
that can think for themselves.
Yeah.
Because if you have a problem, you hire somebody to take over tasks that will save you time.
Mm-hmm.
And you want them to be able to function autonomously.
Mm-hmm.
If you have to do all the thinking for them, it's not worth hiring them.
No. I had this place in my previous life, had this executive come in, and she talked so much. I was wondering if she was actually breathing, and probably talked for 30 minutes straight, and I have no idea what she said, and I'm not sure she did. And then,
like most politicians,
had this other executive who was, I wouldn't say he was very mild-mannered, let's say that. Not weak, but used very few words, but spoke volumes, and probably best executive I ever worked for. But what you saw was what you got. There was no dog and pony show, and he was just really smart, but very unpolished compared to the other people in that role.
Oh, this is one of the reasons they hated Trump, right? Is because he's not polished.
Mm-hmm.
He's not politically correct. Political correctness was a stupid idea to begin with.
What is that anyway? What is political correctness?
Political correctness is language that softens everything. It's putting everything in terms so it's not harsh. That's how I personally define it. I don't know what the actual definition is, but terms for how do you what American Indians became Native Americans, abortion became a women's health care. That's all part of that.
Yeah.
It's usually a confusing and to these days it means the opposite of what it says.
I think I've got.
It's also just taking out any directness, So if you're direct, you don't beat around the bush. If you don't butter it up, you're not politically correct.
Probably. I'm gonna give you my definition. It's me changing the way that I talk and communicate to meet your wants.
Yeah.
Not your needs. It's like my mom always told me, she said, boy, don't get your wants and your needs mixed up. But I'm changing the way I communicate for the way that you want to hear it.
It comes down to truth. I think if you're truthful, then speak the truth.
Yeah. And
if you want to hide the truth and you want to obfuscate it, then use political correctness.
Yeah.
Thomas Sowell, do you know who Thomas Sowell is?
Yeah.
The black economist.
Yeah, very
professor.
smart guy.
Brilliant. He said that if you care about someone else, you tell them the truth.
Mm-hmm.
If you care about yourself, tell them what they want to hear.
Mm-hmm. That's a great quote. I like that. I really like that.
And to come back to your farmers, they have to struggle with problems all day long.
Oh, yeah, they're brilliant.
And they have to figure it out.
Yeah, they're brilliant. They got to be a weatherman, a scientist, mechanic. Yeah.
There's no AI inside.
No, they got to do it.
Yeah.
That's why they're brilliant. Without them, we'd be in bad shape.
So just to draw this further, so we have stupid people
Mm-hmm.
being controlled. I think AI is about control. That's what it's about. It's not about.
Oh, yeah.
It's not for us. AI is not to make our lives easier. It's to control us and to push us into a hive mindset where everybody conforms.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you're not conforming, AI will not allow you. The individual is going to disappear.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be hive mind. Everybody must think alike.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're not going to fit into the system, right? You cannot step out of the party line. You take that to the extreme.
Yeah.
So people are going to become like cattle.
Mm-hmm.
Cannot think, are basically just grunts.
Mm-hmm.
Mindless. They can perform certain tasks, but they're grunts. combine that with what's happening with the birth rate, the average male sperm count, and testosterone levels that have been plummeting, which I believe is due to the lifestyle and toxins in our food. And then add to that this idea of transhumanism. So the human. So Tim Alberino talks about the post-human apocalypse. That I agree with, and this is why: is humans forget how to breed. They cannot breed anymore. They cannot procreate. They become stupid. We have artificial wombs for babies.
Yeah.
And everybody is under full control, and AI is being used as a tool to control everybody. That's where I see this heading, right? But the other thing he talks about is this human-machine interface, like the Neuralink, Elon Musk's Neuralink, where they want to, and they are doing it, they drill a hole in your skull, put a sensor in there, connect it to a computer, to an amplifier and a computer and so on, and then they can teach somebody who's disabled to move a cursor on a screen. And once you've done that, once you've taught the individual, because the sensor is now picking up the minute brain signals, amplifying that. And if you can teach the individual to activate that part of the brain, they can perform something. They can measure that signal and use it to do something. So you can move a cursor on the screen. Once you can move a cursor on the screen, then you can, instead of moving the cursor, you can connect it to an arm. And you can manipulate an arm or something. Okay. That, I believe they're already doing. But I don't believe we are anywhere close to interfacing with machines. This is the dream, right? That you can interface with with a computer, like a cell phone, that is in you, and now you're connecting with the internet. You're connecting with supercomputers at the speed of thought. That is, we are nowhere. They're going to throw a lot of money at that, and I don't think it's going to work for. I don't see when it's going to work.
What if you get hacked?
That would be interesting.
Yeah, that has that whole Manchurian candidate thing going on.
Yeah.
Get you hacked, man.
But here's the thing, right? So the brain is extremely complex. Every individual's brain is also different. And so to push out information at that speed, you have to have a way to collect that information. And then how do you get the information back?
Yeah.
How do you get information into you? So how do you, in other words, they want to replace the way we interface with a computer, with our eyes, looking at a screen, and using our fingers or mouse or our voice to push information into the computer. Replace that with a sensor, right, with this microchip kind of deal, some interface with the brain. I don't see that happening anytime soon.
I think boys need to go fishing.
Much better.
They
want to listen to Andre Rio more.
Yeah, I mean they didn't go fishing, man. Jeez, oh Pete, man, get out and just leave the cell phone in the truck, man.
Yeah.
Just go fishing. You got way too much time on your hands to be coming up with stuff like that.
Speaking of fishing, my son, this weekend, he said, "Dad, when are we going to go fishing? When are we going to go fishing?" He wanted to go fishing, so I had to take him. He wants to go fishing now. So now he's old enough to put the bait on the hook himself. So I had to teach him how to be careful that, he doesn't put the rod down so it falls and it rips that hook into his finger or something like that, right? Oh, he loves it.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's fantastic, man. Yeah. People need to do more fishing. Even catching is just a bonus because, I'm a really good fisherman. The whole catching thing has avoided me, but I am good at fishing.
That's what they say. It's called. There's a reason it's called fishing and not catching, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I'm not really good at the catching piece, but I'm really good at fishing. It's
Who
kind of
was-
like when growing up, I played baseball. I wanted to be a Major League Baseball player. I had it all except talent. Didn't have any talent.
No, I'm terrible at fishing myself, but we got the basics down.
But, just going out and, I don't know, getting away from the artificial world and going into the real world, because all this AI, internet, stuff like that, it's an artificial world. God made the cool world.
Yeah, it's so much fun watching the water, listening to the birds, and just peaceful.
Yeah, it's funny. I was going somewhere yesterday, and I parked in a car. I parked and cut the car off, and it's kind of cold, so the windows rolled up, and it was just totally quiet. And I just sat there, and I thought, this is pretty cool.
People forgot how to have that peaceful quietness,
Yeah.
and I think it's damaging to us.
Oh, it is. We're not meant to, hear bings, noise, and all that good stuff. He's talking about your best ideas. I don't have very many good ideas, but the good ones that I do have, it's when I'm quiet. And I'll tell you something. If I'm glad that nobody's videotaped me do this, because they may lock me up if I did. But, we've got shooting earmuffs. And every once in a while, I'll just walk around the house with my earmuffs on just to be quiet, so I don't hear anything. And it is so relaxing just to wear those earmuffs. Now, I look like a complete idiot wearing those earmuffs around my house, but it is very relaxing.
Why, do you have a lot of noise at the house?
No, it's just to muffle every bit of noise.
Oh, gotcha.
Just
Okay.
no noise. Not the dog like scratching or just nothing. Just total quiet. And you can't find that in very many places.
No, I think it's very damaging. The stream of nonsense, constant stream of this, that, this, that, this, that, this, that.
Yeah.
That we're getting through our black mirrors and our computers and our tablets and our TV screens.
Yeah.
Some people fall asleep. They have to turn the TV on to fall asleep,
Yeah.
or they have to. The first thing they do is when they wake up is get on the internet, to open Twitter or
Yeah.
Facebook or Instagram or TikTok or something, and that's all they do all day long.
Yeah.
And that's another damaging thing. When I was in high school, I had a photographic memory.
Mm-hmm.
And I think most kids do. They lose it at some point. But most kids, normal kids, start out with a photographic memory. And it's the lack of using that makes them lose it. But I recognized that, and I loved having that, because I could study. So my favorite subjects were science, math, chemistry, biology, those kind of, particularly science and math and chemistry, where you have to think, you have to understand something. So for me, it went about understanding. I needed to understand everything, not learn rules or not recipes or not learn facts.
Right.
I wanted to understand every single thing, so I read a ton of books.
Right.
And I still do. I'm still like that. And then computers came.
Mm-hmm.
And I bought a PC, one of the first 8088. Well, this is an 8086 processor. When the 8086 processor came out, bought a PC and I started programming it. I wanted to learn machine language. I wanted to get down into the microprocessor, and I wanted to. And I got on a project in high school, and I didn't sleep. I was coding. I was enjoying so much. I didn't want to sleep. I just kept going. My parents went on vacation. My whole family went on vacation. I said, I'm staying. I want to finish this. But I didn't sleep. And after a couple, maybe 3 months or so, I collapsed. I just collapsed. And I lost my memory completely. That I couldn't remember. My long-term memory just was shot. My short-term memory was shot. And I never got back the full photographic memory. Some of it has returned. My memory is still pretty bad. Certain things I can remember pretty well. But sleep and that silence is healthy for the brain. They did experiments with rats and deprived them of sleep, and the rats died.
Doesn't shock me. It's funny, you were asking me about the earmuffs and noises in my house. You would be surprised how loud a refrigerator running is when it's totally quiet. So I'm blocking out even the refrigerator running noise. And there's a lot of little noises that we don't even think about anymore.
We just tune them, filter them out.
Yeah.
We tune them out.
Yeah. I think we just need to be quiet. It's like I was working with this guy, and I think the world needs to take his advice. I may have told you this before. He said, I'm getting off early today. He says, it's a beautiful day. I'm going to sit on my back porch, drink a beer, and mind my own business. Wow. I think a lot of people need to take that advice. Sit down, have a beer, and mind your own business.
That's right. Should we take a break?
Yeah. But no, I don't know what we're talking about now.
Well, I'll just get back to Tim Alberino.
All right.
So you've heard about the Book of Enoch, the first Book of Enoch, right?
Yeah.
Which is in the Ethiopian Bible.
Right.
And it was also discovered among the Dead Sea Scrolls. There seem to be a lot of references in the Bible, in the New Testament and in the Old Testament, to that book. And that story in Genesis 6, where the sons of God came down and, they found women beautiful, human women. And they came down to marry them, took wives of them, and had offspring, which is called the Nephilim. They were giants. It's just a couple of verses in Genesis 6. But the Book of Enoch tells that story.
Right.
And and then there was Dr. Michael Heiser, who died. He died, but he was a brilliant biblical scholar. He was he wrote books like The Unseen Realm. He wrote about angels, demons, and so forth. Also referred to the Book of Enoch. The story is that during this antediluvian period, this is the period before the flood, between Adam's creation and Noah's flood, called the antediluvian period. During that period, this happened. And you get all these Greek and mythology, Egyptian mythology, all these ancient mythologies that tell these stories of the gods that came down, copulated with women, had offspring, giants, and a lot of mythology in that. So it seems like the Book of Enoch is sort of one of the first documents that describe what actually happened. And so they messed with DNA. These fallen angels bred hybrids. The Bible says of Noah that he was perfect in his generations. In other words, his DNA was perfect. And that's why God saved him out of the flood
Okay.
to let humankind continue. And my belief is that this is important, that God's creation, the DNA that because DNA is information. DNA is not just, it's not just a mechanism, it's information. There's intelligence built into it. It's not, evolution is basically debunked. It's one of the reasons evolution cannot possibly be true, just because of the information content in DNA and how DNA works, how our cells operate. Our cells are so complex, it's like a city. It's not, evolution is just nonsense. It's garbage. It's been debunked. That's besides other observations now that also shows that there's just no way, Manipulating DNA is an abomination to the Creator, to God. So when they did that, God decided to wipe them out. When the Israelites went into Canaan, God instructed them to wipe out these giant clans. Men, women, and children, completely wipe them out. And the interesting thing about that, now we go to present day, and they want to manipulate DNA. Matt Gaetz said he had a briefing where military personnel briefed him on military breeding programs where they're breeding hybrids between extraterrestrials and human beings. We're going back to the thing that happened in the pre-flood era, right? And the way I see it is, if you mess with DNA, and this is also something that Tim Alberino, I think, agrees with. If you mess with your DNA, you stand a chance of losing your salvation, losing your soul.
I would agree with that.
Okay?
Yeah.
You're not under God's creation. You're not His creation anymore. The flood story, the pre-flood story, also is that these hybrids, the Nephilim, these people whose DNA had been manipulated.
Yeah.
I mean, it's spread across the entire planet.
Right.
They had to be wiped out. But now think about this. These are people who do not fall under God's creation. So they have nowhere to go. God says, you're cursed. You're going to stay here. They can't go to heaven. They can't go to hell. They don't fall under His creation. His covenant with man doesn't. They're not in that. And that's why they are in the spiritual realm. And they are basically in the. They traffic that dimension or whatever the unseen realm,
right,
where all this traffic is. That's where they traffic, and that's where they are until the day of judgment. That's now my definition of a demon. Have I told you my definition of a demon?
No, you have not.
Do you want to hear it?
I do.
So my definition of a demon, it is a intelligent. It's an intelligent, spiritual parasite that corrupts everything it touches and aims to destroy every host that it inhabits.
I like that definition.
spiritual. It's an intelligent, spiritual, and of varying intelligence. They are of varying intelligence. They are demons come in varying ranks, and there's not just one type of demon. It's like, different types.
Oh, yeah.
So an intelligent spiritual parasite and they seek humans to inhabit. And everything they touch, they corrupt. And every host that they inhabit, they aim to destroy. That's a demon.
I would agree.
I made a April Fool's Day prank that scientists have discovered the woke mind virus.
Yes.
So I sent it a bunch of friends that I have.
Mm-hmm.
And one of them came back and said, well, that's bad. And I didn't get a chance to ask him why it's bad. But I assume because, it makes fun of woke people, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because I said it's a parasite. I wrote the article, that
Right.
evening, made it up out of thin air. And I said this is a parasite that's elusive. It enters through the colon, so the recommendation is don't have anal sex.
Mm-hmm.
And then it travels up to the brain, probably through the spine. And it habitates in the skull. It ends up in the skull where it flows around. It travels around in the cerebrospinal fluid in the brain.
Mm-hmm.
So it's hard to detect. It's hard to find this thing.
Mm-hmm.
And it feeds off of your minor dendrites because it releases an enzyme that dissolves the minor dendrites. These are the connections between the neurons. It's called a dendrite, and then the minor dendrites are the fingers of that connects to the next neuron,
Right.
So it feeds off of your brain. So here's my question. What is worse? A physical parasite that feeds off your brain, or a spiritual parasite that destroys you?
Well, I think the spiritual parasite, because eventually it will destroy everything. Everything.
Yeah, plus it is true.
Yeah.
This is what is happening, and we see it in society now. If people understood what they are dealing with, they would run to the hills, try to get help.
Yeah.